Welcome. My name is Cheryl Cloyd Robbins, author of Forbidden Fruits. Thank you to my readers and followers as we follow the antics of the characters from Eden City. In addition to entertaining, Forbidden Fruits wants to always educate, inform, and inspire. So today we have with us a very special guest, my best friend Kechia Kinsey, who's come to share with us the challenges of raising a special needs child. In June of 2001, her daughter Kristina was born with Down syndrome. Now, we could give you all the statistics and the medical terminology, and those things will be listed on my website. But today we want to explore the emotional challenges of those families who have special needs children. So thank you to Kechia for sharing this intimate journey with us. So Kechia, thank you for joining us. And I just want to take a moment to learn a little bit about your journey, and I appreciate you sharing this with all our fans. So take us back to when you were pregnant with Kristina. There was no...
Well, when I first got pregnant, I was nervous. There was 12 years between Derek and Kristina. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was very excited because I had issues with Derek. They watched me very carefully, but I didn't know until the day that I delivered Kristina that she had Down syndrome. The doctor that came into the room to deliver her just looked at her kind of funny, and then she looked at my husband and looked at me and was like, I need to have someone else come in and take a look at Kristina. So we allowed her to do that, and the specialty doctor came in and looked at Kristina and said, I think your daughter has Down syndrome. She had no bedside manners at all.
Wow, so I mean, just a ton of bricks, no preparation. I mean, clearly you had prenatal care and all that stuff, so there were no tests, or did your tests just not come back inconclusive, or did you have any?
None of my tests came out with Kristina's having Down syndrome. Kristina was also born with an ASD, which is a hole in her heart. None of that was diagnosed when she was in the womb. But the day she was born, they noticed that she had a hole in her heart. So none of that was noticed inside. The day she was delivered, like I said, they noticed that she had Down syndrome. She had the facial features, and she also had some outward characteristics. Children with Down syndromes typically have a line going through their hand. Kristina had that line only on one hand. So they had the doctor come in, and then it took about 3 weeks for us to finally conclude that she had Down syndrome. They had to draw blood and set it off to confirm that. So.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I remember being there, hours after she was born, and myself and our other friend Stacy, and you were walking around like just a mom who had just had a baby. I mean, there was no tension, there was no fear. We didn't pick up anything from you. So, I'm sure at that point you had already been notified.
Right.
So moments after you hear that, take us to that conversation that you had with Coach at, the nurse walks out of the room or the doctor walks out of the room, they drop this bombshell on you, people are coming to visit and on their way. What is that conversation between you and him?
That conversation was like, well, whatever God has given us, we're going to deal with it. God only doesn't give you more than you can handle. So our conversation was, whatever God has given us, we're going to be thankful for. We would look at Kristina, and she was acting and functioning just like a typical child at a day of just being born. So we were just like, we're going to take whatever God has given us and take it as a blessing. If she has Down syndrome, then we're going to just take it and give her all that she needs.
Wow, that's so brave. Because not only are you a mom and you already had a 12-year-old, but you're a military wife. So your husband is here today and in Iraq or Afghanistan or Korea next month. So did you have any nervousness about that, or?
I think I did have a lot of nervousness about it, but I have a large family support and friends. We all have a lot of friends and family, and all my friends and family rallied around me. I have a cousin who has Down syndrome also, and my aunt was very instrumental. And as soon as I had Kristina, I called her, and she was like my backbone. Like, you're going to be able to make it, Kechia. This is not a death sentence. You can do this. Mm-hmm. So she was like my support, and along with all my friends and family, I have my parents who are very supportive. My mother-in-law, Cheryl, Stacy, Joy, Jasmine, Mickey, Shyla, everybody rallied around us, so it made it easier.
Well, let's talk about Derek. 12 years old. He had been the only child for quite a while, and Coach Jack had been in and out of the country, and it had been you two for a while, and you're adding a new baby, and then you're adding a special needs child. So, how did that conversation happen? What was that conversation? And at 12 years old, how did he receive it?
So the way we told Derek is after we confirmed that she had Down syndrome, we were sitting at dinner one night, and we said, Derek, we need to tell you something about your sister. And he was like, what? She's beautiful, Mom. Oh. And I kind of feel like he already knew, but he didn't want to tell us that he knew. Mm-hmm. So we were like, Derek, she has Down syndrome. So of course at 12, he had a lot of questions. So we summed it up to him that she just learns differently. She's going to still be she's going to bother you, she's going to hit you, you're going to have the brotherly, sisterly love, she's going to love you some days, she's going to hate you some days. But she's just going to learn a little different than other kids. And so Derek was like, okay, I love her, she's my sister. And Derek has always been the type of child that no matter what, if you have a disability, he's never recognized that. He was around Uncle Tommy a lot. He never asked any questions. He always played with Uncle Tommy, helped Uncle Tommy get his cane, whatever Derek needed to do. So I felt like he would take that as, this is what I have to do for my sister. So
that's amazing. And I guess, I'm in awe because I think about just life in general, and how did you have and build a family so strong that at any sign of just that challenging news, everybody was able to say, okay, well, we can, we're going to handle this, whatever God has given us, we're just going to handle it. What do you attribute that strength to?
I think it comes from upbringing and having a strong family and friend like rally around you since birth. So I've always been close with my family and friends, and I think that's what made it easy on us. There were some times when I was nervous. I was like, what did I do? Did I not eat the right thing? Did I not do the right thing? It's me. I shouldn't have ate those French fries from Bojangles. But then
you can blame Bojangles for a lot of stuff. But I don't know.
But so then you just take it and say, hey, God is going to give me the strength to make it through it. He gave me this, so I'm going to be fine. And it helped with all my strength. And my job, coworkers work with me, so it was very, I think having the family support and the support around me made it really easy.
Well, so let's talk about our little crew. So, it's 7 of us, and I'll give a shout out to Stacy, Keisha, Shyla, Jasmine, Joy, McCall. We've been together over 30 years. Back then, we had been friends since, we were 4 and 5 years old. Mm-hmm. And so, as I said, we saw you that day and the days following Kristina's birth, and you were so strong and natural and normal Keisha in mommy mode and all that, but we didn't hear the official news for, like you said, several weeks. So, how did you decide to tell the crew, and what support did you expect, and then what support did you get?
I think, as I told, we email each other every day. So it was a morning email that I responded to, and I was like, I'm going to tell the crew. I'm going to see how they feel about it. So I put it out there. I was like, hey, they told me they've confirmed Kristina has Down syndrome, and I just wanted everybody to know. And immediately I got phone calls and also cards and flowers like a couple hours later, and emails. Hey, we're there for you. Do you need anything? She's one of the crew kids. We're not going to treat her any differently. If you need us to come help you, whatever, we're a team. We're going to make it through this. And that was the teamwork that I felt that I'm like, okay, I can make it through this.
And I get emotional, especially when you say crew kids, because we've been together so long, and every child in the crew is like all of our kids, like Aunt Stacy, Aunt Keisha, Aunt Cheryl, Aunt Jasmine. So it was. I remember reading it, and it just never dawned on me to have any other reaction than to be like right there for you. And I wondered how the other crew kids would would interact and, you know, how we would do that, but it seemed to just all kind of fall in line. Do you find that when Kristina is around other kids, does it just seem to roll that naturally with everybody, or was it, you know, how does that interaction happen?
I think it varies, and Kristina is probably a good example of this. I remember one day, this little boy was picking at her at school. Being the mother that I am, I'm like, oh, Kristina, he said what? And she said, he called me slow. And I'm like, really? And she said, Mom, I just told him I learned differently. So I think it varies. All the crew kids surround Kristina. They love her. They help her with her challenges. Whatever she needs, they're right there with her. And she relates to all of them differently. Mm-hmm. So
I think she helps them with their challenges as well.
Yeah. So yeah, but I think it varies. Some people in the community, some days when we're out, we see people and they're staring at Kristina. Like I remember this summer we were in J.C. Penney's, and this little girl was staring at Kristina, and she was like, "Hey, what you staring at?" And then she went over and introduced herself, and I was like, "That was really big of you, Kristina." And she said, "Mom, I'm just Kristina."
Oh, she is. I'm sure she was like, "Mom, I am Kristina,
the diva."
The diva, absolutely. Because I'm sure she went over there with her little pink purse and all blinged out.
Yes.
So, how do you prefer? And I think this is important for, you know, not just Down syndrome children, but, you know, children with challenges overall. How do you prefer that they are referred to? Is special needs the word? Is it disabled? Is it special needs? And how do you prefer that they be introduced? Or clearly you don't want them defined by it.
Right.
But when I'm telling my children, or when we're telling children that don't know what they see and they recognize the difference, how do you prefer, and how does Kristina prefer that be explained?
I think I prefer that you know Kristina first, because she's a person and a human first. The disability is just second to her being a person, and I feel like everybody has a disability, whether it's classified or not classified. I'm good with math. I'm not good with reading, so that's my disability. Me and Kristina talk about it all the time. She helps me read words sometimes. So I think if people refer to the child or the person and not focus so much on the disability, that it will help with the transition. And I know Kristina, now I don't say Down syndrome or DS or whatever in front of her, because I want people to know who Kristina is first. And I introduce her as, hey, this is Kristina. And she's like, I'm Kristina. Now people start asking questions, then I'll elaborate. But I want people to know Kristina first, and then know that she has Down syndrome as secondary.
Okay, and I think that's really important, especially for people who want to support their friends and family and loved ones, is to know, you know, how they want to be known. And I mean, you know, I grew up with my brother who has cerebral palsy since birth, and very much the same. It's like you want them to understand that, you know, you don't want to say handicapped, and you don't want to say anything that is you know, not respectful of what this person is, because like you said, we all have, and we all have our challenges, and those challenges are just one of many that we all share. So in addition to having a teenager and having a husband that's deployed and having a child and already a small child, you took that and said, I'm going to turn my passion into some action. So I really would love for you to tell our viewers about the SMILE program and what that was and how that assimilated into the community.
Okay, first I think I have to tell you that SMILE stands for Supporting and Modeling Inclusive Learning Environments. When we formed SMILE, my husband was away. It was either Iraq or Afghanistan, and I didn't have an after-school care for Kristina. She was still in pull-ups, and normal after-schools don't take 5-year-olds. So I was running into some difficulty, and I'm going into the community trying to get help, and I go to mental health, I go to the military, and everybody looks at me like, this lady is crazy. So I'm like, I need some help. My husband is away, my family is away.
You're a working mom.
I'm a working mom, and I have a teenager, and I just need some help. I just need somebody to help me with Kristina in the afternoons. So I formed SMILE at my church, which is St. Jude Missionary Baptist Church in Poe Mills, and I talked to some people there. We formed SMILE as an after-school program, and we also made it into other items, like if a parent needed someone to go to an IEP meeting, I'm an advocate, and I would go. It didn't matter if I had vacation time or sick time. I was like, I'm sick, I gotta go, vacation, whatever, because I feel like parents don't have all that support, and there's a lot of information out there, but you gotta know the right thing to say and do in order to get what you need. And I felt like I had that knack to be able to talk to people, and I tell people when I sit down at the table when we're having IEP meetings or whatever, I'm Kristina's mom. I'm an advocate for her and her services. Whatever comes across in this meeting, don't take it personal. It's not personal. I just got to get her what she needs. So when SMILE was formed, it was an after-school program. It started to get too big as a working mom, so I turned it over to Parks and Rec in Cumberland County. And now it's like an after-school program and a summer camp. It's the very first summer camp for after-school care in Cumberland County for children with disabilities.
Wow. Oh my God. So, I mean, say that again, because that is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It is the first
It's the first after-school and summer camp for children with disabilities in Cumberland County.
That's amazing. That's just amazing. And I think, oh my God, it just shows how dedicated and passionate you are about it, and what you can achieve when you have that type of mentality to not beat yourself up and just to advocate for your child. I'm so proud of you. Oh my gosh, I can like cry right now, because I knew about SMILE, but I did not know that it was the first. And I would venture to say that there probably aren't that many.
There's no other
in the
centers.
state.
Yeah,
You know?
they're very limited. They're very limited. Most of the time when families with children with disabilities have an issue, no after-school care in smaller communities. And Cumberland County is a fairly large area, but when they have issues, the parent just stops working. And I was determined that I don't have the education or the background to give Kristina what she needs. Plus, I'm mom, and I'm not going to be as hard on her as other people who know what her capabilities are. And I wanted her to reach her full potential. So what better way than to get a center that has therapy and people who are specially trained to help her with what she needs.
Well, that's awesome. And I think it's also awesome that you were willing to go and help not just Kristina and advocate for her, but to go to the IEP meetings for other kids whose parents may not know how to do that. What advice would you give other parents, and not just in that, but as a whole, on how to research and find those services, and how to have those conversations, and who to have those conversations with, and what do you wish you had known then that you know now, that you discovered kind of the hard way when you stumbled upon it, but for someone who may not be as adept at that as you, what kind of advice would you give them?
I think I would say be an advocate for your child. Don't take no for an answer. At first I would take no, she doesn't qualify for these services. No, you can't get this kind of help for her. Be an advocate for your child. Don't take no. I think the motivation to me is when I look at Kristina and she smiles at me, that just gives me all the power that I need to get what she needs. Empower yourself with all the knowledge about the services that come through mental health, the school system. Those people are there, I think, typically to give you the information, but it takes you to put forth the effort to get what you need for your child. So empower yourself with the knowledge and use that knowledge to get the services and the things that you need for your child.
Okay. And not just for special needs children, but I think our kids in general, every child deserves someone who's an advocate and is pushing for their best interests. And I think, we don't always do that, especially if we don't have a child that's categorized as one thing or another, and they're mainstream. You just don't even think about the fact that they need an advocate as well. So I think that's powerful. So recently you reached out to someone whose child was just born and diagnosed with Down syndrome. What kind of conversations do you have with that person, and how do you motivate them to do things and accomplish things that you've done?
Well, it was a lady from my hometown, from Ahoskie, Hertford County, and she had a child with Down syndrome. And I saw the post on Facebook, and then I saw her needing services, and she was having to pay for therapy. She's a single mom. And being the passionate person that I am, I was driving home from a baseball game with my husband, and I called Mickey, and I'm like, I need her phone number because I got to talk to her. And so Mickey was like, I don't know if I can give you her number. So I was like, okay, as soon as I get home, I'm going to inbox her. So I inbox her, and then Mickey calls me with her telephone number. And then I'm calling her. I'm like paging her, like sending her text message. This is Kechia, call me please. And so she finally calls me. And my conversation is, God gives you this child because he knows you can handle it. Don't let anybody tell you no. Whatever you need for your child, you go get it. Her child had had heart surgery, and I walked her through. Well, I helped her with trying to get some services. The child had been in and out of the hospital, and I'm like, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do for this baby. She's so beautiful. I think sometimes parents, and I'm guilty of this, you have a pity party, and you're like, oh, I don't know. But Jessica was very passionate about trying to get services already, but she had been turned away, and I let her know that, hey, don't take no for an answer. You keep pushing for their services. So, yeah, and anybody else that needs help, that's what I'm here for. I think that's my passion.
That's awesome. I think you're very good at it. And I've seen you, do your thing, and you can be very fierce when it comes to making sure that things go the way they're supposed to go. So I don't think that there are many people out there that have, they may have your passion, but they don't have your spunk. That's for sure. That's for sure. So tell us about Kristina now. I mean, she just became a teenager, tell us about her personality. Tell us about her and things she loves and enjoys and all that.
Kristina's 13 now, a teenager, and she says she's a diva. She cares about herself. She loves to get her hair and nails done. She loves to get dressed. Actually, she called me on Friday and she said, I'm coming home. And I'm like, oh, I'm so excited my baby's coming home, because she goes to stay with grandma in Raleigh during the summer. And I'm like, oh, I'm excited my baby's coming home. And she's like, don't get excited, Mom. I'm just coming to get my nails done. So Kristina, she's going to the 7th grade. She's very excited about going to a new middle school. They closed the class down at the school that she used to go to, so now she has to go to another school. And I always try and show her the positive side of when stuff like that happens. I'm like, oh, you get a new school, new friends, new teachers. And she's like, yeah, maybe that teacher won't tell me to be quiet. I can express myself, because it's very important for her to get what she feels out. So she's going to middle school.
Well, she has a lot to say.
Oh yeah. She doesn't want anybody to stop her. So
clearly, you just don't know that what she has to say is important as it is.
Yes. So she's a teenager and going through all the typical teenager issues. She gets an attitude. Her body is changing. So it'll be interesting.
So how do you explain that? And it's hard enough as a parent to explain those changes in the body and having those conversations. Do you find yourself having more of a challenge because of that, because of Down syndrome, or because she's a girl, or is it pretty much?
I'm a planner, so I know that when her body, I kind of clock, okay, I see her getting body changing a little bit, so it does take a little while for her to adjust and change. I'll tell you, when she got her first menstrual cycle, it was a challenge for me and my husband. We were not ready for it. But we had worked with Kristina for about a year before that, and we talked to her, and the day it happened, she was better than we were. We were all emotional. She's like, I'm a lead now.
She was well prepared, ready.
Oh yeah. So I think parents have to prepare themselves and plan ahead. Like it takes a little while for her to understand what's going on. So I kind of prepare and prep her like we started the year before, and then she took it running. And I'm like, wow, she's better than some 13-year-olds I get when she goes to after-school care. Now they're like, she's better than a typical child. Mom, you did a good job. So yeah.
Well, Kristina is clearly a mess.
Yes.
So I know she has some medical challenges. Tell us about some of the things that she's gone through so far with, her heart and that kind of thing.
Kristina was born with a hole in her heart, ASD, and so she had that repaired. I think it was in like 2006. We still have to monitor that. Like every 2 years, we have to go to the heart doctor. And they tell you when you go. I went to Chapel Hill when Kristina was born, and she had a genetic study done. So they tell you kind of typical things that you have to be prepared for. She's going to have eczema probably. She's going to have some hearing issues. Her heart should be repaired, but you still have to watch her. She has narrowing of the spine, which is typical with Down syndrome. So we have a lot of medical appointments. My family is very supportive. They help me with that. Kristina she prefers that I don't go to the doctor with her, because when she goes with her grandparents, they treat her out. So,
of course.
so she has a lot of medical issues still. But it doesn't bother her. She just had to have a sleep study at Chapel Hill. She was ready to stay there all night, and we kind of made it as a game. She has a machine that she sleeps with now. Kristina has a mind of her own. She doesn't sleep with it all the time. She tells me that I need to sleep with it to see what it feels like.
So clearly you don't.
No, I don't know. So, but yeah, so she still has some health issues that we'll see how things go. But overall, she's a typical 13-year-old.
She's a mess. She is a mess. So, what are your hopes and dreams for Kristina as she's a teenager now and she's flourishing into young adulthood and then adulthood? What does her future look like? And walk us through your version of her future.
Well, what I don't want to do is give her limitations, so I tell Kristina, whatever you want to do. She's told me she wants to go to college, so I started researching colleges that will accept children with Down syndrome. There's a college in Greensboro, and I told her when she goes to high school, we'll go visit before I just drop her off after she graduates. But she says, I'm going to college, Mom. And I want for Kristina to be whatever she wants to be. I don't know.
Thank you.
I love you, man.
So, I remember being there the day Kristina was born, just a few hours after, and you were, walking around like regular Kechia mode and mommy mode, and you just had a newborn, and everything seemed so typical. Mm-hmm. And so, you had already been given the news that there was a strong possibility that she had Downs. So, take us back to the time. Take us back to telling the crew that Kristina had Downs. What type of support did you get, and what type of support were you looking for?
I think we wanted to wait until we had confirmation that she had Down syndrome. So the day that I did it, it was the day after we got results, and I sent an email out to all my friends. We email every day, so I think it was a reply.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah. I was like, hey, ladies, just wanted to tell you that we've confirmed Kristina has Down syndrome. I immediately got phone calls, email responses. About 2 hours later, I got a flower at the door. So I think that helped me through transitioning. I was still kind of like, oh, I don't know how this is going to be. Mm-hmm. I hope everything is okay. I don't know how people are going to react and take Kristina, but I got full support. The crew, their husbands, kids, everybody rallied around and was like, hey, she's just one of the crew kids.
That's right. Definitely one of the crew kids. And that's